Hey friends, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. So is everyone losing their job? That's the subject of today's video. I want to talk about this and also what's going on in the markets today. And the subject comes up because GM just reported they're going to be laying off like 1,700 workers. Essentially, it's in Kansas plant, and they're going to retool the plant. So they're essentially, hey, this is a temporary layoff. Maybe you have a job when you come back. But the thing is, if I'm a GM worker, it's like, that doesn't make me feel any better. I want work now. And unfortunately, though, I think this is going to be kind of a common theme that you're going to see in the markets going forward. And I'm starting with this story because I want you to understand, for those of you who are new to this stuff, new to investing, like, how does this game play and sort of what's going on and why now? Essentially, I think there's a couple things. One is you have a growth scare, right? And two, we're kind of like uncertainties in the market. Now, the Fed just cut 50 basis points. And they're claiming that it's not about jobs, right? We're not worried about jobs. It's actually, at least according to Fed Waller, that just came out recently, he's just like, yo, we're worried actually that inflation will be too cool. And we actually want to sort of get things going before it gets too cool, right? So in a way, they're saying growth scare, but not really saying growth scare because they always keep saying the same thing. What, the economy's strong. It's like, well, the economy's strong, why are you cutting? So there's that. So my personal opinion of stuff is like, I honestly think there is a bit of a growth scare and also a job scare because you're going to see it in individual companies. And the other issue is too is like for companies, and essentially this is what you think about investing is, remember, you're giving your money to a company, you're saying, hey, take my money, do some great things with it, make me some money, right? And so the company then takes their money and then they use your money to invest in whatever new products or research, marketing, et cetera, and try to attract customers to come through the door. But the thing is, like, companies essentially always need to be doing, R&D and updating their product lineup to get people to do that. So that's what GM is saying, hey, we're going to retool and we're going to try to, get these new flashy products out there. The other issue is, though, with dealing with Wall Street, and this is just reality of it, you got to maintain your profit margins, right? So if the growth isn't there, if the revenue isn't coming in, and you got too many people on staff, unfortunately, you're going to have to lay people off. So pay attention to these kind of things. The other issues, like, as well, which is a related one, is Qualcomm might be buying Intel. And unfortunately, I think if that happens, a lot of people at Intel will probably lose their jobs. When you merge companies or one company acquires another one, there might be some redundant roles that, two people doing the same role, you don't need that. So you're looking for ways to, cut costs because essentially you just bought this thing and now you're like, okay, we need to completely figure out a way to change the management structure, turn things around and get things going again. And if you guys don't know, Intel's just been a dog of a stock, been terrible the last couple of years. And so who knows, maybe the Qualcomm thing will turn around. I think they've been talking to regulators and people at Intel and trying to work out a deal with that. So there might be opportunity theoretically at the Intel stock if you're willing to take that risk. I'm just bringing up, I'm not here to pump Intel stock, something like that, because frankly, Intel stock has been a terrible stock. It's a bit of a value trap. Like you're like, oh my God, look how great that P is, et cetera. But they always find ways to disappoint when it comes to earnings. So we'll see if there is a change in management there. And guys, when you talk about the markets, and this is sort of why I like to just be honest with you about this kind of stuff, is again, you're giving your money to someone else, another company, and you're saying, grow my money faster than I could, do it by myself. And if you're doing it by yourself, you throw it into a savings account, you're buying bonds, or you're putting it in CDs. For these kind of things, and this is where it becomes tricky right now in the market that we're in, because interest rates are going down and the Fed's indicated said things, like your rate of return and stuff is not going to be so great. So, maybe your savings account's going to be around 3 to 4%. Maybe CDs are going to be kind of roughly the same, maybe 3, 4. Maybe you can get 4.5 these days, depending on which banks you use, et cetera. And then the other issue is, well, if I do that, and this is kind of just talking about investing with you, is like, I'm definitely guaranteed to not lose, okay? So there's nothing wrong with buying bonds, which I always talk about with you guys, or getting CDs. You're not going to lose. So there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, if you want to lock in guaranteed returns, it's a good way to preserve wealth. Now, if you want to go a little bit more aggressive, you say, okay, that's not good enough for me. I want to do stocks. Here's the problem with stocks right now. And I'm not saying that don't buy stocks. I'm just saying this is the risks and the things you want to take into consideration. Is that where's the growth going to come from? So the safe way to play stocks is you just buy the S&P 500. You buy the index fund and you're like, okay, I don't want to worry about picking individual stocks. I just want to go, total market in the USA generally is going to be pretty good, and I'll go with that. one problem with this, I just want to, you know, kind of give you realistic expectations, is the S&P 500, like a lot of the returns lately have been basically AI bubble, right? So NVIDIA has been like a huge portion of the S&P 500. I think it's like, at one point it was like 40% of all returns. It was like NVIDIA alone. So if that bubble pops, it's gonna be tough for like the markets to do well. So we're gonna watch for that. And so that's why like, I'm watching all these things together. Our companies come out with their earnings and sort of what they're saying. Are they growing, right? I'll give you another example. So again, we're looking for growth here. So what we're looking for in the market, right? It's essentially, you got to think, okay, if I want to try to, you know, do better and beat the market, if I'm not satisfied with guaranteed returns of, you know, bonds and CDs, like where can I find growth in the market? Well, we just saw the new Apple phone. We just saw it today as the 16. I probably should take a picture, but guys, it's there, and you might have seen it also. It's actually a nice phone. I was pretty surprised. It's actually a nice phone. There's nothing, I mean, I have an Apple. There's nothing wrong with the Apples. They're fine. Just that, is it nice enough for me to upgrade? Do I want to go this cycle? And it's funny because when my wife and she saw it, and the first thing she said is like, maybe we'll get the 17. So I guess 16 is off the table for us. That's one thing is like, for me personally, I want my foldy phone. I want a smaller phone. I just don't want this big phone. And this is kind of related to the GM story. Remember, companies always have to come out with, you know, new reasons for you to buy their products. Remember, as an investor, you want to invest in a company that essentially is growing their revenues, et cetera. At least if you're in a growth kind of company. If you're in a dividend company, and for some people, you know, they ask me about dividend stocks sometimes, the basic idea there is that, okay, maybe you're not going to have crazy growth. So this is an example of something like McDonald's, right? Like McDonald's is not going to grow much more. Yes, their revenues will increase every year, and you know, maybe their profits / earnings will increase every year, but that's probably just going to keep up with inflation, maybe be a little bit. But the advantage of those is that, okay, if there's no growth, at least they're sharing profits with me through a dividend. So I just use McDonald's example. You could talk about Coca-Cola or any number of, you know, safer stocks like that. The thing is, what's interesting about this, and this is sort of like, you know, talking about just investing in the markets right now, is again, S&P 500, that's total US stock market, so index, and there's different ETFs out there that will capture that, and you want to get essentially a low fee one. That means that you don't have to worry about picking individual stocks. You know, throw some money in, have a savings account. It's like your cash reserve in case anything goes wrong. You know, get some consistent steady returns in bonds and CDs, and then, you know, throw some money in the market. You can do a S&P 500 index, but like, you know, much of our returns these days on that thing has been the AI bubble. So one of the ways to think about this is like, okay, buy low, sell high. What's been underappreciated, right? Where is if all the money's going to NVIDIA, like what are the low stocks right now? And that's something that if you want to buy individual stocks, that's probably one thing to be looking at. So, you know, for me personally, and guys, I don't you know, pump in individual stocks or whatever. I just try to just talk you through like what to think about with the market and stuff like that. Is I'm thinking, okay, if we're worried about a growth scare, like what's the best way to do this? So my opinion is like, I just want consistent returns. So just sort of what I'm doing, if you guys are curious. You know, we're taking bonds and CDs right now, and I'm going like more value stocks and dividend. That's my opinion on this stuff. I just don't think the growth's going to be there. I feel like NVIDIA is a bubble, and I don't want to get by a car here, and I'll be in a bubble, right? But I feel like NVIDIA is a bubble, and I just don't trust that Apple's going to grow anymore, right? So that's where I think the opportunity is. The other issue as well is like, we have this lot of political uncertainty and war uncertainty. I just saw, just today, you know, I came out here for a walk. I just need to get some fresh air. The war between like Israel and other countries in the Middle East, like, you know, Lebanon, it just keeps getting worse. It's something like Lebanon just launched 100 missiles over at Israel. So it's frustrating, that kind of stuff. And then you got the election, the uncertainty with that. I'm still saying it's 50-50. You know, I know the national polls say that Kamala Harris is winning. You know, depends on what poll you look at. Maybe she's up 2, maybe she's up 6. It just depends. But that's not the swing states, right? So there's a lot of uncertainty with those kind of things. And you know, the thing with Kamala Harris, she may support some industries and maybe a little bit tougher on others. So, you know, the bet would be clean energy, maybe get a boost. Perhaps under Kamala Harris, you know, maybe the bank regulations would be a little bit more stricter than under Trump. You know, maybe also too, you may see, and I think possibly both of these maybe benefit would be something like the home builders may get a lift. because they're going to try to promote getting more houses on the market. So there may be opportunities there. But again, it all depends on your risk profile and what you're looking for. One of the things that I try to do, and it just want you guys to think about this also, is every month when money comes in, is just set some money aside, right? You don't even see that money, and you just have like automatically diverted into your various investments, right? So again, you're going to have some cash, you have some CDs, have some bonds, and you also have some stocks. And you're going to allocate that what makes sense for you. Do you want guaranteed returns, or do you want to try to go for some more growth? And I just sort of gave you some things to think about. Like for me personally, I think we're at the top of the market in terms of like those big mega cap tech stocks, and I just don't see the growth is going to be there. It doesn't mean they're terrible companies, stuff like that. I just feel like we're at very, very high valuations. So, if you're not going to do S&P 500, I would tend to go whatever has been not so popular, not the AI stuff, and more value dividend oriented. That's just my opinion. Because sometimes, like, this is just how it is on YouTube. Some of the kids are like, well, Chris, what are the investments you like? Like, what do you love? What are the stocks that you want to pump? And it's like, well, there's two problems with this. Is like, one is if you want to be popular on YouTube, you just pump the biggest bubble possible, and everyone wants to hear about their Bitcoins and their cryptos and their AIs and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just not seeing it. I think, right now the opportunity is going to be more, at least in my opinion, value and dividend, that kind of stuff, and then just more fixed assets where you're guaranteed that you're going to be getting a set return and you're not losing. That's one thing that I've learned, and especially in the market that we're in right now with layoffs, is that I think the big challenge going forward for people is just like making sure you have a job, guys. I'm sure those GM people are not happy right now, and then the Intel, the rumor on the street will be like, oh, if they remerge, they'll lose this department or whatever. And I just think a lot of companies are looking to cut costs because they're having a growth scare and they need to keep Wall Street happy. So I just wanted to share some thoughts about what's going on in the market. And I know sometimes it sounds like a bummer, that kind of stuff, but I like to be honest with you about this stuff and talk to you guys like adults about these things. I think it's important. And I know, and it's like I always try to talk to everyone as the general audience, but I know the young kids are used to everything going to the moon, and they're thinking, oh, it's going to be a hockey stick growth kind of thing. And doesn't the Fed cutting by 50 basis points, doesn't that mean that everything's going to be awesome? Not necessarily. I'm still thinking growth scare here, possibly stagflation. That's another concern. Whether or not we've completely beaten inflation, we'll see. A lot of that has to do, in terms of inflation here, is tied to housing, and there's just not enough affordable housing. Now, unfortunately, this is just how our system works. If more people lose their jobs, the demand goes down, and then prices should go down. That's how it should work, but there's going to be a lot of pain, and it's hard to talk about that kind of stuff with people. Like, you don't really want to tell people, hey, you have to lose your job to get prices under control. It's not really something you want to say, but it may be something a lot of companies are doing. So I just wanted to share some thoughts on what's going on in the market, guys, and sort of what I'm feeling, and just want to get some fresh air. How can I say, if you want to do well in this life, be healthy, right? So for me, get some exercise, get outside, and it clears your mind. And that's sort of like, sometimes I like to do this. It's a lot easier to think about and put things in perspective of what's going on in the world. And I always appreciate your time, and I want to hear your thoughts on these things. And I'll catch you all in the next video.